Grieving mother. The woman looks briefly through you, as if she doesn't know you are there. Grieving mother. This middle-aged peasant woman is dressed in a brown leather cloth, draped down to her knees. Her hands are working at separating stringy, colorless vegetables in a pile before her, stripping the heads off the long fibrous stems with a paring knife. She discards the stems one by one, placing the heads of the vegetables into a small cradle-like basket in front of her. She doesn't greet you as you approach. You're not sure she even knows you're there. Arismital says, "Excuse me." The woman doesn't respond. She keeps stripping the heads from the vegetables with a steady rhythm. She may be deaf. There's no indication she heard you. Study the woman. At first glance, she seems nothing more than a middle-aged woman, unremarkable, maybe less stern than most, who seems more focused on the weaving in her lap than her surroundings. Yet you suddenly notice she's not stripping the vegetables before her any longer. She's weaving, and the vegetable pots are now missing. Huh? She still pays you no mind, her brown locks torn and snagged from lack of washing, like many of the townsfolk you've seen. There is a strange blur to her. Even the motions of her hands seem to be playing with the threads that lack color, in a shape that lacks interest. It may be that she is half-minded, or deaf, but something feels wrong. As you watch, her knitting takes on an odd cadence, and you have terrible suspicion that something lurks beneath what your eyes are showing you. Focus on the woman. Her brown hair is long, almost impossibly to the length of her hands. As you follow the streams of her locks downwards, the hairs become long and black, splitting off into threads of black and silver and wrapping around her hands. She is forming a soul cradle with the threads, braiding a net in front of you, each finger long and sharp like a series of knitting needles, almost hypnotic. The silver and black strands of her hair weave together, with silver predominating as a highlight, the black shadowing it. And suddenly you are calm. You are on a plateau, almost the height of a tower several stories high. The plateau is like a table lying beneath a clear sky, and beneath the plateau, surrounding it in all directions, a forest, hazy with mist, although whether it is actual mist, or distance, or a recollection. Resting in the curve of a natural arch above you is a great copper bell, half again the size of a man hanging at attention, as if looking down on you and the event unfolding before you. The plateau has soaked in the sun, and the rock beneath you is rough and warm. The sky forms a cradle around you. You feel different, not disembodied, but you feel your body, your physical contours have changed along with the surroundings. And you hear a soft series of chimes, like wind chimes. At the sound, the scene gains color and texture, as if the sound is beckoning you gently forth, filling your senses and thoughts, like mist roiling softly into a sealed chamber. And focus on the chimes. The chime coaxes you deeper into the memory, and you're certain it is a memory, a warm one. You are on the stone of the plateau, your knees on the warm texture of the ground. Silver, white, shimmering, like adra. The plateau is formed of it, glistening in the sun. You can feel the heat on your skin, your wrists and your hands. Your hands are in motion. So the plateau is made of adra. Weaving, not thread, but gathering, tenderly moving along the first movements of Berath's will. Your hands are wet, your hands are upon the flesh of a newborn child, and you can feel the crowning of a tiny head turning in your grip, its head slick, wet from the womb. The hands you are wearing, inhabiting, have done this many times, and they are practiced and confident. You can feel distant pains in your own head as the head emerges, a stream of fluid from the womb helping the newborn slide forth, and a woman's labored breathing, crying out. Focus on the child, the movement of your hands. As your hands move, you hear the sound of chimes, clear, cutting through the haze of memory. You cannot see where they are coming from, but they are close, and they are meant as a comfort, of that you are certain. Draw the child forth. And coax by your hands, every moment causing the chimes to sound again. Almost eagerly, the child comes forth, and as it does, your hands are in motion, weaving, moving along the length of a soft, wet rope. No, an umbilical cord from the legs of the naked woman before you. You are holding a small child, still wet from the womb, before you. The child cries out, its cry full of life, full of soul. The ringing of chimes echoing in its thoughts, filling it with its welcome. The soul is blurred at the edges as if you are viewing a soul from within a soul, but it is there. It is alive. The woman before you is weeping, and at her first cry, her hands reach out for it. Surrender the child. You surrender the child to her, something you have done many times before, and as your hands move, the chimes echo the movement, and you realize the chimes are hanging from cords on your wrists, and where once they echoed in the memory, they are now echoing in the child's mind as well. The chimes are intended to welcome the child, to be its first gentle greeting into the world, a soothing sound guided by the tender motions of your wrists. You are helping to weave its thoughts, its perceptions, and the experience. The experience. The woman laughs with her ragged joy, laughing from a parched throat. Her emotions seem soothed, but the physical demands of labor have left her exhausted. But the child is here, the child is safe, and all atop the plateau is peaceful, calm, distant, flattening out as the memory persists. Slowly pull back, retreat from the memory. With effort, the scene bleeds of color, and your mind becomes your own again. There is no pull, no anchor, yet the sound of the chimes remains, as they existed in the memory, the sound here as well, and they are hanging from woven braids on the wrists of the woman before you. Even as your head is spinning from the touch of her mind, the sound of the chimes on her wrists is sharp and clear, as if coaxing you back to the real world. The woman still sits before you, but she is nothing like what you first saw. She is wearing black, shredded garments that drape over her form like streamers. Her hair is streaks of black and run through with silver. Her age is almost impossible to tell. She simply feels old, like a crumbled watchtower. As she lifts her head to face you, you see that her hair is draped across the front of her face, like a veil. Well, the portrait doesn't show it like a veil. What you first saw of her was a mental glamour of some sort, unconscious, and you realize what you see is not what the world sees, and you are perhaps the first to see her true self. Still, you don't sense a threat in the realization. If anything, you feel a sense of relief from the figure. You can hear her thoughts, and she is glad to at least be seen. Arismito asks, "What did you do to me?"
I am seen, but the eyes of others do not remember. You were the first to see me as I am, the call stripped aside.
There is a light touch on your mind, a caress, and her left hand mirrors the motion of the touch. Reaching up to the air between you hear the chime on her wrist sound. Softly, Her hand moves as if pantomiming resting on your cheek at a distance, and she speaks softly and slowly.
Your memories. A cadence of wheels on a caravan track. Fever. Questions by running water. Violence in a night's campfire. Arrows in the dark. And fleeing. Falling rock and cracking stone. And a storm. The storm.
Grieving mother swallows, and the chime sounds as her hand shakes. She stops, her hand frozen in the air.
The storm that brushed you. Did its screaming wake you from your mind's cradle? Your memory of it is painful. Its cry is difficult to ignore. It's like a child. Many children crying out.
The question seems to be for both of you. Arismital says, I encountered a Bewick, yes, and it did something to me. Grieving mother hand withdraws shyly. The chime sounding softly once again. The woman stands uncertainly as if she has been sitting for some time, or is too weak to bear her own weight. You notice her cheekbones are tight, her face gaunt, yet while her stance is weak, she seems determined to stand before you.
You are able to see me.
It is almost a question. You suddenly realize she doesn't seem to know what you saw when you looked at her. The image on the plateau, yet the image was so clear, so sharp. You're surprised she didn't feel you there.
To see me is a rare gift, a watcher's gift.
Arismital asks, how was I able to enter your dream?
So many questions, thoughts whirling like storm winds. That storm still roars through you, deep beneath your thoughts, yet muted and secret, like an underground river. I cannot tell if it is carving new channels or eroding what keeps your true strength buried. The fact that you could hear it at all, survive it, is something few have ever done. Your power will grow stronger with each soul you touch, as it allowed you to reach out to mine.
There is a silence, and although it seems to last for but a heartbeat, in your thoughts it stretches out between the two of you, like a pool between your minds. You blink, take a breath, and then you realize she wants to ask you questions, yet cannot form the words, as if assembling them is painful, or there simply are not enough pieces. Assemble the thought. Arismital asks, do you wish to travel with me? You feel a wave of fear gusted with the strength of relief, although oddly, her expression does not change. Then fear dissipates, and you feel strength and certainty, as if the plateau from her memory lies beneath you, and a calm sky looks down upon you. Alright. I'll send you to Kite Nua. Dream and memory. Learn of the grieving mother's past. Villages, Harun soldiers were drinking dangler and dry. Pace started watering the ale just to keep it flowing. I don't know what happened to the ogre, but no one's seen it lately. I appreciate what you're doing for our village. I expect compensation instead of thanks. Can remember the last time we had a healthy birth in the village.
How do you do?
Handina adjusts one of her bandages. Anything else I can do for you? I've got some handy ointments if you're braving the roads anytime soon. Arismital says, I found the dragon egg. Handina says, Hilea's feathered teats. She claps her hands together, wincing at the pain. I knew you could help. How do you manage it? Arismital says, I found the nests you spoke of. Handina says, hope those worms didn't give you too much trouble. Let's see her then. Handina cradles the egg with her good arm. Handina says, amazing, not a single crack. She runs her bandaged hand across the shell. Handina hefts the egg into the back of her wagon and rummages among her shelves. Here, take this. She drops a stack of coins and a parcel of ingredients into your hands. Everything you need to brew a good strong pick-me-up. Should come in handy with the kind of scrapes you seem to get into. Handina leans closer. And come see me anytime you need potions or ingredients. Alright? I got a special price for friends.
Hail and well met.
Handina's removed some of her bandages. Her burns now look smooth, pink, and shiny with fresh ointment. Finally, on the men and back in business. Anything I can do, Arismital? I've got a special discount just for you. Handina steps aside. Sure thing. The shelves of her cart contains jars, vials, and bundled paper packets. But these prices are just for you.
Let's see what we found. Carrying too much weight.
A ledger lies open on the desk. It lists purchase and sale amounts for various alchemical ingredients and concoctions.
Ichumak, leave the pig alone. Some fermented caribou milk would hit the spot right now.
This is the place. My big brother's last battle. I wish I could tell you what we're looking for.
Ender scans the lush landscape before you in all directions. He presses his lips together.
Anything from that battle, I guess. Whatever 15 years of rain hasn't buried. You see my brother's ghost, you give me a holler, all right?
He looks at you, he winks.
Too recent. Not much here.
Sleaf Hota. A man stands before you, his face smeared with green and ochre dyes. Hides and furs cover his body, and he holds a spear in one hand.
Tread carefully, Estrabor.
He bears teeth that have been filed to fine points. Back to your village, Estramor. You are lucky the 3 tusks Telgair hunt other quarry today. Oh, is this a Glenfathan tribe? The name must be 3 tusks Telgair. Okay? Arismital asks, 3 tusks Telgair? Sleaf Hota's snarling grin widens. Have the farmers grown too fearful to even mention our name? We are the fiercest of the 6 tribes of Eir Glanfath, and we are the guardians of the monuments here. Arismital asks, what do you know about Cliaban Rilag? Sleaf Hota says, it is a sacred place of the builders, and neither your feet nor ours shall sully its stones. The grasses, however, Sleaf Hota grins and hefts his spear. I will gladly water with your blood. Arismital says, I've never heard of the builders. Sleaf Hota makes an exasperated, clicking noise with his tongue. They are known by other names in the heathen tongues of farm folk. They are the ancients who built this place and many more like it, and we of the 6 tribes guard their legacy. Arismital says, I'm looking for a group of people who may have already entered the ruin. Sleaf Hota says, so are we. He runs his thumb along the smooth wood of the spear. That is why we wait here, Estramor, and that is why I have decided to let you live in peace. Arismital asks, what will you do? Sleaf Hota says, we will wait. If they are inside, they must come out. And when they do, he slides a fingertip along the point of his spear and shows you the drop of blood. Ah. Arismetal. Hmm. Arismetal says, these individuals are my enemies too. If you let me in, I could bring them out for you. Sleafhota laughs, and allow even more Estra Morn to trample sacred ground? Certainly not. Eder says, well, you already messed up once. What's the harm of doing it again on our account? Seeing as how we're probably much nicer people. Arismetal says, I see. Sleafhota says, good. Alright. I'll be going, says Arismetal. Sleafhota says, and do not come this way again. You just threaten Arismetal not for the first time or the second time. Arismetal will remember this.
Nothing over here. I guess they cleaned up real good after the battle. This is embarrassing. I think I see... No, never mind. Hey, something metal in the ground. Over by that boat.
Painters can't guard that place forever. These ruins are claimed, friend. On your way.
No need to get riled, boys. We're just passing by.
Look at his talisman, Pag. Eothasian.
The looter indicates Eder.
How about that? A godless sack of shit. We got a blazing corpse worshipper on our hands.
Actually, they never found the body.
Eder fumes. He opens his mouth to say something, then closes it. He quickly replaces his frown with a polite smile.
Only reason for the legacy is because the Duke doesn't got the guts to see you all slaughtered. The gods want you dead. Me and Pag, though, we done our part during the purges, didn't we, Pag?
The looter grips his saber.
Seamstresses?
Make your cracks now. Got no god or homeland to avenge you. By Magrin, this'll be short work.
Arismetal says, surely the gods want peace between us?
And what part of a war goddess wishes peace? No, friend. Only through the blood of our enemies is our goddess quenched.
The man throws back his head and lets out a raspy cackle.
Doesn't matter who it was for anyway. Country's better for the purges. Maybe we start a new purge right here.
He readies his weapon. Didn't these looters see there are 6 of us and 2 of them? Are they really confident in their skills to take on 6 people? They are outnumbered. Why did they still decide to fight? I don't understand.
That's it! Attack!
They were right. That was short work.
Reatseran stand at peace. The tip of some metal object protrudes from a mound of watery river silt. With both hands, you and Eder begin digging in the mud until the object is dislodged. You close your hand around it and pull it from the wet earth. The object is a steel, semicircular frame, about the size of your fist. At even points around the semicircle, jagged points jut out like tongues of flame, the rays of a rising sun. At the sun's center is the carved silhouette of a Vorlas plant.
I've seen these before. They top the standards of Reatseris. Or did when Weidman was alive. Well, it's something. Just not sure what it gets me.
Eder takes it from you and looks it over, flipping it over and over in his hand. Arismitel says we should take it to an expert. Eder shrugs. It's a thought. A lot of people would have touched this. Standard bears a position of honor in most places, but the Reatserans actually took to fighting for it. What I heard, serious bunch, is not a lot to hang hopes on. But hey, we were lucky to find anything at all. So it's back to Defiance Bay, I guess, lest we spot my brother's bones laying around on our way out. Bring the battle artifact to a cipher. Broken bridge lies before you. Most of it appears to have crumbled into the river centuries ago, leaving 2 jagged ledges on either side of the water. You see a yawning passage into the mountains on the other side. You might be able to jump across the gap. Jump to the other side. Sargani misjudges the gap and barely makes it across, spraining a wrist in the process. Alright. Wait, our pets, the animals, they're left behind? They didn't jump.
I'd say it's time to get a campfire going and let sleep follow.
Charge!
Savages massed at the gates with their arrows and swords and spears, yearning for conquest and plunder. Their chieftains and warriors feared not vengeance of gods nor the wrath of their enemies. Death would not punish them. This is supposed to be an Angwithan ruins, right? So the savages here, is this referring to the Glanfathan tribes? If that is so, then the Glanfathan tribes have existed since the time of Angwithan. Or perhaps the Glanfathan tribes are the descendants of whoever these savages are, referred by the Angwithan. Assuming they are the ancestors of the Glanfathan tribes, it means the Angwithan are at war with the Glanfathan's predecessors. So why are now the Glanfathans revere the Angwithan so much and protect their ruins? Something happened in between those two events. But what?
I cannot keep up this pace.
Let's see what we found.
Were they raw? Off them. Were they raw? We'll fare better if we get some sleep.
I'll take a look.
What's... I'll handle this. It's done.
Hungering always for nations and gold, they were ruthless and fearless. Who are the Engwithans referring to? Hungering always for nations and gold?
Let's see what we found.
Carrying too much weight.
How can the people of virtues resist the profane and lawless? Where can the elm dig its roots that the storms cannot wash them out?
Afraid to close your eyes, Watcher? Not all of us are on such bad terms with sleep.
says Leafota. The warriors turn as you exit the ruin, their painted faces betraying shock and anger. You were warned, Estramor, says Leafota. Uh-oh.
Seems real friendly.
I don't want to fight them. Why does the game doesn't give me a warning that I'm about to exit to this place? If I knew, I wouldn't have made the decision to exit through that entrance. I hate this. I really hate this. It wasn't my decision to fight them. I didn't know that I would appear in this location. This woman seems to emerge from the wall of the mountain. She's little more than a skeleton swathed in robes, and her gaze is fixed on the massive doorway.
We'll fare better if we get some sleep.
Laying low.
Never could Picos accord with their chiefs. Can a people find order when sunset brings darkness, but never a map in the stars of the sky? Never the spirit and always the flesh are a people of lowered eyes.
Let's see what we... I'm here.
Carrying too much weight. Carrying too much weight.
I cannot keep up this pace.
A series of pictographs, simple but clear, are carved on a column in this alcove. Figures of men and women with their arms raised are carved into the top of the column. Suits of armor in the same pose have been chiseled into the bottom.
Let's see what we found.
Carrying too much weight. Carrying too much weight.
I think it may be time to strike up camp. Ugh.
The pictograms in this alcove portray a procession marching to an altar. A lone figure lies upon the altar, and another member of the procession drives a dagger into his heart. Something flows from the dying man into a white stone perch above the altar. Time was a veil to the godless, no blessings to reap and no mercies to sow. Time was a veil to the godless? A column of hieroglyphs shows men and women standing in a line and descending into a pool. The figures that emerge below it stand with outstretched arms and triumphantly serene expressions. Leaving their bodies to offer their souls, and forsaking the weakness of flesh and enfeebling of bone, the barbarian godless succumb at last. Huh? Leaving their bodies to offer their souls and forsaking the weakness of flesh and enfeebling of bone, the barbarian godless succumb at last. A man and a woman, carved from lustrous adra, pour the contents of a vase at their feet. And with an key, this multifaceted piece of crystal has been cut and polished to perfection.
I don't suppose we could rest a spell.
Scenes from a battle appear on this column. An army of men in loincloths and hides is gathered, dwarfed by a dozen full suits of armor that loom over them. In the descending images, the armors crush the army. Full suits of armor. Dwarfed by a dozen full suits of armor.
I have.
It's high time for some rest.
Adra grows from a central pillar and seems to spill down the steps. Luminous egg-shaped stones are nested within the rippling Adra. Fighters in iron, relentless and fierce, as the thousands of foes. Fighters in irons. Images of men and women swinging hammers and hitting iron over a forge fill this alcove. Is this a forgery? I mean, is this a forge? This place, this room? Look at the lava. similar sighting, like the one at the ruins of Sealant Lys. A haze of essence lingers over the body, as faint and insubstantial as a dust plume in a rider's wake. Yet as you draw closer, whispered instructions echo in your ears, and anticipation warms your blood. In a vision, you see the same stone machine you approached moments ago, but from different height and angle, as if through different eyes. You'd heard rumors that some of your brethren were sent here months before, yet you see no sign that anyone has been here. In fact, the cobblestones are covered in a fine layer of dust, ash. You know suddenly what this will cost you, and you are ready. The orders were clear. The effects of the machine in Cliaban Rilag were wearing off. A child had been born not far from Dirford recently, its soul intact. The machine would need to be reactivated. Ah. So the purpose of the machine is to create the Hollowborn. The purpose of the machine is to cause women giving birth to Hollowborn. And it says here a child had been born not far from Dirford recently, its soul intact. The machine would need to be reactivated. So, the event back at Sealant Lys, the people who got sucked into the device, I'm assuming their souls, the purpose of that is to create the Hollowborn phenomena. Ah, interesting. So why would the Leaden Key want to create Hollowborn phenomena? And it says here a child had been born not far from Dirford recently. Not far from Dirford. Okay. Interesting. Who is this child? And who are the parents? You and your companions take up your positions. You share a final look of affirmation between yourselves. They don't know your name and you don't know theirs, but you know that you're doing the work of the gods together. None of the rest matters. Two carved bands of stone in the middle of the machine grind into motion. They rotate in opposite directions, picking up speed until they spin like freshly greased carriage wheels. A wind shrieks through the cavern, accelerating with the stone rings. You press your hands to your ears and grit your teeth against the noise. You're about to shut your eyes when you glimpse new movement. Rows of triangular flaps around the machine open like petals. You don't know what's happening in the machine, but you feel a tingling at your extremities. Searing pain spreads through your body, a hot knife separating every tissue and ligament within you. All the while it feels as if you're falling toward the machine, your stomach smashed against your spine. What happens next is too fast to process. You awaken from the vision to find yourself kneeling and gasping for air. Holding your head, you let the tiles between your knees gradually come into focus. As you catch your breath, you remember the strange scene you saw outside Sealant Lys, where several robed figures fell amidst a howling beowulf. Looking at the ash scattered across the cavern floor, it is apparent that the Leaden Key has been doing this, whatever it is, all over the Deerwood. Ah, interesting. After several more abductions took place at Zochine Lake, Nasu discovered that a previously unknown beast was behind the attacks. A strange ruby red beetle would grab the locals and feed on their worst memories. Though victims would initially fight back, they would quickly enter a blissful state and drop their resistance. Unfortunately, the beetle would eventually devour all of their memories, leaving their minds vacant and broken off from the world. Nasu was able to track the beetle to its nest and kill it. The locals were relieved to hear the beetle had been killed, but dismayed to learn that hatched eggs were discovered in the nest. As a parting gift, a philosopher from Zohine Monastery created a wand for Nasu from one of the beautiful red reeds that grows along the lake. So they found a hatched eggs of this red ruby beetle, meaning there will be more abductions, because there are more of these rubies. Unless they can really be careful. Red Reed 1. This one was a gift from a Zochine monastery philosopher. He created it from one of the beautiful red reeds that grows along the edge of the lake near his monastery. It was given as a gift for your help in tracking down a dangerous memory-eating beetle that was terrorizing locals. Something in the ether hums and buzzes through your teeth. You hear running water and see a small stream that carves its way into the mountain. Inspect the stream. A shallow bottom flickers and wavers just under the water's edge. But as you look toward the tunnel, the bottom disappears into darkness. From here, it's impossible to tell how deep the stream is. However, a faint light plays along the walls of the tunnel. The echo of rushing water suggests that the tunnel and stream continue for quite some distance. Wade to the tunnel. You take a slow, sloshing steps toward the mouth of the tunnel, holding yourself upright while the current tugs at your legs. The cold water leaves you gasping, and as it rises past your waist, you fight to control your breaths. The stream bed soon drops out from under your feet, and the current pushes you toward the tunnel with growing force. Swim into the tunnel. The current pushes you through the tunnel faster and faster, tugging you downward. Over your head, the tunnel narrows and drops, leaving only a thin pocket of air. You take a final deep breath before the current drags you into the depths. Rays of light pierce the darkness, but the current is moving too fast now for you to see more than flickering glimpses as you speed by. You keep your hands in front of yourself and focus on avoiding the jagged rocks that appear suddenly in the darkness, jutting from the walls. A light winks at you up ahead. You're approaching it fast, but it looks like to be the mouth of a second, smaller tunnel. You might be able to reach it, but your lungs have started to ache. What happens if I grab the edge of the tunnel? Or what if I continue with the current? Continue with the current. You rush past the side tunnel and see a corkscrew turn up ahead. You angle your body with the current just in time to avoid the onrushing wall. The contortion forces the last burst of air from your lungs. The last of the light disappears behind you. You can't tell whether the tunnel has gone dark or whether you're blacking out from lack of air. In either case, you can no longer see the walls around you. You extend your feet in front of you and hope for the best. Your foot strikes an outcropping, your arm grazes another. The pain has you gritting your teeth, but it's not as bad as you'd feared. Either the cold waters have numbed your skin or you've slowed. Your chest begins to hitch. You clamp your jaws shut and tighten your throat against the choking waters. But soon your body's reflexes will take over. Oh, I pressed twice. A halo of light appears above you. The current is no longer pushing you toward it. So you kick, push and twist your body up, the surface always seeming just out of reach. At last your head breaks the surface. You gulp air into your aching lungs and pull yourself to the edge of the pool. Crawling out of the water, you look at the cavern around you as you massage feeling back into your aching, cold, numbed limbs. Grab the edge of the tunnel. You wrap your fingers around the rocks lining the tunnel and peer into it. It terminates in a dead end, but something glints among the rocks at the far side. Reaching it would be a challenge for anyone without strong lung capacity. Swim toward the glint. You pull yourself into the tunnel, executing deft scissor kicks, while the passage narrows around you. At the end you find a skeleton with a handle protruding from its ribs. You pull it free and push off from the wall, propelling yourself back toward the main tunnel. Swirling and tumbling through the darkness of the tunnel, you at least see a halo of light above, and you swim and kick toward it. At last your head breaks the surface. You gulp air into your aching lungs, and you pull yourself to the edge of the pool. Crawling out of the water, you look at the cavern around you as you massage feeling back into your aching, cold, numbed limbs. You have gained an item, the Rose of Salt Hollow, added to the stash. Okay.
It's high time for some rest.
Wow, it's the whore, Settle, or the ex-whore, the former whore. Settle says, "You should have seen the looks on these nobles' faces when I moved in. So 4,000 coppers are enough to get you to live in Breckenberry, yeah? How long will 4,000 coppers last you? How many years? Make sure you invest some of it into a business, yeah? For passive income, maybe? Or maybe you would like to open your own business, start your own business. Just make sure you don't overuse your coppers. You don't want to get back to that life in Ondra's gift, right?" And if you're planning to have children, well, you have also to think and plan for your children's financial, their education, etc.
Hello!
Aris Kuren says, always a pleasure to see a clever friend. He returns to sorting through the scrolls on the table. Must be here somewhere. Arismital shows him the still sun. I want to trace a man who might have touched this item. Kuren looks it over, his ears twitching with interest. From a war standard, yes? Reatseras? Yes, I believe I can be of assistance here. The imprint isn't fresh, but it is well preserved for the most part. If you're looking for someone, your rather unusual gift may be of value here. Images can be fleeting. Your target will be easier to identify by the makeup of his soul. I will share what I see. It will be to you to make sense of it. You'll pardon my presence in your mind, all for a good cause. He takes you by the hand, holding the still sun in the other. Now, clear your mind of all wayward thoughts. Eder. You close your eyes and concentrate. The sun is bright in your mind's eye, warm with the pulse of collective experience and noisy with the thoughts of the past, of battle, of faith, of home. You drift from voice to voice, thought to thought, Eder's soul a vibrant signature with which to locate his brother. One voice stands out amidst the din, brassy and earnest, a shade brighter than Eder's, but unmistakably of the same construction. You have no image of its owner, but his journey is imprinted within the points and curves of the still sun, and in your mind it opens before you as a path stretching both southward to Gilded Vale and northward over the uneven terrain that joins the Dirwood to Reatseras. You trace the path back to its origin, far back as you can find, gliding over plains and hillsides to a one-room home in Gilded Vale, with a thatch roof and a dirt floor. The path is faint here, its distance in time rendering images blurry and details scarce. From Gilded Vale it follows a road toward Mudmere Bridge, reaching the gates of Defiance Bay before diverting abruptly, cutting northward in a beeline for Reatseras. The path leads to a Reatseran city, regal and austere, in the Aidir imperial style. It winds through streets and climbs a grand set of stairs into a stately building, passing through pointed archways into what appears to be a throne room. Upon the throne sits a man whose head is pure, blinding lights, and as its gaze turns to you, the light drowns out all else. Its voice carries the force of thunder, but its words are impossible to make out in the imprint, echoes of echoes. The voice and light fade, and the path bends backwards, carrying you along to a barracks, then back southward, marching into Dirwood and skirmishing along the way. Upon one battlefield, the imprint is vivid, and you see a Riyadh Seran standard topped with a steel sun, clutched in the hands of a fallen soldier. You see a young man in Riyadh Seran armor, with Eder's straw-colored hair raised toward the standard and lifted, the path you've been following clear to see beneath his feet, and as his hand brushes the steel tip you can hear his thoughts racing in a blur. And they are of his God and his country, and a brother he hopes is far away from this place. In an instant, the thoughts are gone as well as the man, and the standard is passed to another soldier. You pick the path up again as it meanders south, and disintegrates in the shadow of Cliaban Rilag. You open your eyes.
Anything? Looked like you were working real hard there.
Arismetal says, your brother got as far as Defiance Bay, before turning to Reatseras instead. He met Widewen there, then he enlisted.
What'd he talk about with Widewen?
Eder's eyes widen. Widewen's head was a beam of light.
I figured that. Woden and me had heard enough stories from his uprising to know it wasn't just some tall tale. Doesn't mean he was Aethys. It could have been some wizard's trick. It's what they talked about that's important. What'd they say?
Arismetal says, I don't know.
That's not funny. Come on. That metal sun, my brother touched it. You saw where he went. Now what'd he talk about with Widewen? Why'd my brother fight for Reatseras?
Eder frowns. Arismetal says, I wish I had something better to tell you.
I guess that's it.
Eder's mouth hangs open and his eyes glaze, his forehead creased between his eyebrows. He rakes his teeth over his lower lip. His voice is barely a whisper. Arismetal says, we will find some other way to know why he did what he did.
I don't think we will. What would we do? Look for more war relics? We were lucky to find this one. The soldiers that fought with him are long dead. The battle was a massacre. And whatever Aethys knows, he's not talking to anyone.
A new look has come over Eder, lifeless and dull as ash. Eder says, we can go now. I've seen what I needed to see. Kuran says, I wish I could have been more of help. You have my sympathies. As often as an item shows us what we need to know, it will disappoint. My files are full of cases that have run cold. On bad days, I think often of leaving, applying my skills to something less confounding. Ah, so we can't really know why Woden enlisted with Reatseras? Yeah, Eder was right. I'm curious, what was the conversation between Widewen and Woden? Dang it.
How fares your search?
Arismetal says, I have other questions.
Yes?
Arismetal says, There is something I can tell you about the Leaden Keys operations.
Well, let's hear it.
Arismital says the Leaden Key is manipulating a group of Fengwithan machines that span the country, and it seems to be causing the Hollowborn epidemic.
I had feared they might be involved in Widewind's legacy. It seemed too extreme even for them. How naive I've been. The Leaden Key's conspiracy is clear now. They have used Engwithan technology to engineer Widewind's legacy, and they want people to blame Animancy for it. As we speak, the Duke is holding hearings in the palace. He is listening to arguments for and against Animancy. When they finish, he is expected to decide whether to outlaw it. It seems the Leaden Key has been pushing Deerwood down this path for some time. I, for one, would enjoy seeing their little scheme fouled up at the last moment. Our Duke must hear what you have to say. Unfortunately, the hearings are closed to the public, which makes the Duke inaccessible until they are completed. However, certain groups have been invited to attend. You might get in with one of them if you aren't above a little pandering. There are delegations from the Knights of the Crucible, the Dozens, and from House Dominel. If you can gain the support of one of those groups, that may be your best way in. See what you can arrange.
Arismital says, I want to discuss the Animancy hearings at the palace.
What of them?
Arismital asks, wouldn't they allow a guest of Dunrid Row into the hearings?
We would only do that as a last resort. Walking in with one of the 3 invited groups puts you in a position of influence. Walking in alone as a representative of Dunreed Row would earn you distrust among all the rest. It seems our organization has a reputation for nosiness and manipulation, for whatever reason.
Lady Webb glances to one side. Maybe you guys did manipulate. I don't know.
It would be best if people did not see Dunreed Row's hand in this. Easier for them to embrace the truth.
Arismital asks, what is there to know about the Duke?
Avar is many things to many people, and that is why he sits the throne. To the frontiersmen, he is one of their own. To the patriotic, he is a sole descendant of Admeth Hadrit. To the nobility, he is from an old and established family. All of these are half-truths or exaggerations, a tale he has spun around himself.
So Ivar is a liar? He's a phony. Well, my question is, despite being a phony, is he ruling this place to the interest and the betterment of his people, or not?
The man behind the tale may not be the greatest mind in Deerwood, but he knows people. He knows when they are sincere and when they lie. He knows when they are strong and when they are weak. The other matters he leaves to me. Outwardly, he prefers to come off a bit of a simpleton. Don't be fooled. Before he was a duke, he was a trapper, and an excellent one at that.
Lady Webb says he knows when... Lady Webb says that Ivar may not be the greatest mind, but he knows people. He can tell whether they're sincere or whether they lie, whether they're strong or whether they're weak, and the rest of the matters, he'll leave it to Lady Webb. So, Lady Webb is actually the one who runs things in Deerwood, then Ivar is just a frontman. Maybe there's the reason why people think that Dunrid Row manipulate, just as you said earlier, because maybe they can see, they can feel that it's you guys who are running the show, not the Duke. Arismital says farewell. What would be more beneficial for Arismital? Getting in bed with the Crucible Knights, House Domino, or the Dozens? Okay, let's consider the facts. Arismital is a noble from the Examital Plains. Okay, but now he's in Deerwood, and in Deerwood he holds the title of Lord of Kaidnua. He rules over the Castle Kaidnua and whatever territory that exists within the jurisdiction of Kaidnua. So, what would be the best choice for the best interests of both Kaidnua and Examital Plains? So far, I do not know the political relationship between Examital Plains and Deerwood, so I don't know whether they're friendly, hostile, or tense. What I do know is that Kaidnua is part of Deerwood, and it is part of the earldom. I don't know the name of the earldom, but it's ruled by Earl Bademar. And now, as Lord of Kaidnua, Arismital is a Thine. And I guess a Thine answers to the Earl? Yeah, because we pay taxes to Earl Bademar. Okay, what would be the best choice for the best interest of Kaidnua's domain? The Knights of the Crucible? Of course, they are Deerwood's standing military, right? So if we have good relation with the Knights of Crucible, if Kaidnua is ever in trouble, we can hopefully receive their help. Now, what about House Dominal? House Dominal is an old family, rich, powerful, and a crime family. Of course, being in good terms with them also benefits Kainua as a crime family, powerful enough to operate within Defiance Bay and still exist and not getting crushed by the Crucible Knights means that they are at least as powerful or as resourceful as the Crucible Knights. So House Domino can also benefit Kaidnua. The Dozens. They are the militia. As far as I understand, the Dozens are the militia. They have influence over the folks, over the small folks. I get the impression that the Dozens have influence over the small folks, especially especially that the Dozens are using the animancy topic as a rallying point to gather support from the common folk. if there is a full-blown revolt, this is if, hypothetically, if there is a full-blown revolt, Defiance Bay will fall. Defiance Bay will fall, and I think it will spread over the whole of Dirwood. I mean, look at Dirford. The people there, they hate the nobility. So if somehow the dozens gather the folk at Defiance Bay to revolt and Defiance Bay then fall, don't you think that the same energy will spread throughout Dirwood? So in this sense, the dozens are also powerful. They have the people, they have the hearts of the people. Whether it's valid, whether it's justified, I mean, whether they really have the best interests of the people in their hearts, I don't know, nobody knows. But the fact remains that currently, I think I get the impression that the dozens have the people's heart right now. And that makes them also a valuable ally. But again, the Crucible Knights are making Forged Knights now. Dunstan was able to create a Forged Knight based on the research done by Viana. So again, if there is, let's say hypothetically, if there's a revolt in Defiance Bay, I think the Crucible Knights can bolster its ranks with the Forged Knights and crush the revolt. So with these facts so far, I think House Dominel is the least beneficial for Kite Nua. Now the question is, between the Crucible Knights and the Dozens, which one is more beneficial to Aris, to Kite Nua? Let me think. Oh yeah, I just remembered. The Dozens hate animancy, right? And Aris Mittal is a watcher. Is a watcher also considered an animancer? If a watcher is considered an animancer, if one day they find out, if I ally with the Dozens, and one day they found out that Aris Mittal is a watcher, and they consider it to be an animancer, if things goes south, for example, let's say there's a revolt. I'm not saying there will be a revolt, but just hypothetical, if there's problem brewing in this country, I think all, the kind of trouble that pits citizens against citizens, like a civil war, I think the Dozens will use that also as an opportunity to target animancers. And if they think watchers are the same as animancers, which maybe it is, then they're going to I think they're going to target Aris Mittal, regardless of whether they are allied or not, before that realization. And also, the Dozens like to do operations to to loot to plunder the Angwithan ruins, which will also contribute to the tense relationship with the Glanfathan tribes. If there is war with Glanfathan tribes because of their actions, it's going to affect Caed Nua as well. It's going to affect Dirwood, and Caed Nua is part of Dirwood. Of course, it's going to be affected by war with Glanfathan's tribes. So I don't think Aris would be in his best interest to help the dozens, or by getting in bed with the dozens. Getting in bed with the dozens means that Aris has to be seen as one of them, meaning he has to do his part. And I'm not sure Aris Mittal would want to do anything to benefit the dozens, seeing as the possibility that a watcher can be considered as an animancer. So yeah, I guess the logical choice for Aris Mittal is the Crucible Knights. They have the Forge Knights, they are the standing military, and I get the impression they are not against animancers, so I should be safe. So I mean Aris Mittal should be safe. I like to interchange I and Aris Mittal, but I like to see from the point of view of Aris. And also the Crucible Knights, from some of the conversations between NPCs, the Crucible Knights are against the dozens raiding Angwithan ruins. And I think I will support that, because like I said, a war with Eir Glanfath will affect Caed Nua. I think it's better to... it's better not to have war with Eir Glanfath, so Caed Nua can focus on trade, on economy, and other stuff. Maybe improving Caed Nua and its domain, research, building, development, etc. Yeah, I think Aris Mittal is going to ally with the Crucible Knights. Besides, the Crucible Knights are pretty much on the same side as Dunrid Row, right? And Dunrid Row is an organization of ciphers, and their skills will be useful for information gathering, which also can benefit Caed Nua if one day Caed Nua is in trouble and requests help from both the Crucible Knight and Dunrid Row. Yeah, I think Aris Mittal is going with Dunrid Row. I mean, with the Knights of the Crucible. The most beneficial choice out of all the three. But I can see the point of the dozens regarding animancy though. It's dangerous and unpredictable. But I'm not sure if indiscriminately purging animancers is a good choice either. Yeah, I think Aris is going with the Crucible Knights. But wait, they have the Forge Knights. What are they powering the Forge Knights with? Souls? Is that going to benefit or not benefit Kaid Nua. I don't know. But in the short, but in the foreseeable scenarios, Crucible Knights is the most beneficial option for Aris and his domain. To have good relations with the Crucible Knights I think also will give Aris a good relation with Dunrid Row, both powerful factions. Yeah.